Hello and welcome to Jack and Rel's Super Rad MMA show. I'm Jack.
And I'm Mel.
It's been a bit of a crazy day already today in the MMA world. The Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier talk is heating up. They are now suggested to be doing a main event, 165 pound. Has a new division title shot on UFC 230. Is it the right call for the UFC?
In fairness, I don't think the UFC has made a call yet. It sounds like Nate and Dustin are trying to make that call. Weight divisions are a funny thing. Would we like to see more of them? Yeah, I think so. Are these the two right guys if it happens to fight for a new title?
So Poirier, you could make a case for a title shot for Poirier at the minute, or close to.
At lightweight.
So
my only problem.
That's the question. Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
My only problem with Dustin Poirier at the minute is he isn't a huge lightweight.
No, he was a 145 or first.
Yeah, he's still a big guy at lightweight, but he's not one of these guys who's really struggling to make the limit. You would think the 65 strap would be for guys a little too small for welterweight, a little too big for lightweight.
Yep.
And I just don't think Dustin falls into that.
No, I don't either. And as you said, it with him being a lightweight, you wonder what the motivation for a title shot at 165 is, because whilst he's had great performances recently and he's an excellent fighter,
I suppose
starting a new division.
I suppose maybe from his perspective, 155 is a bit tied up because we have Conor Habib, then we have Tony Ferguson, who was the interim champion. We've Anthony Pettis on the rise. Then you have Dustin. Then there's the Nate Conor rematch is floating about there, and then there's of course the shadow of a potential GSP challenge as well. So
that's an interesting point. But what you've just said there is exactly why I'm not that phased on it. Which is, I suppose, from his point of view, from his point of view, he wants a title shot. But from the fans' point of view, does he deserve one? That's the question. I can see merit to Poirier to an extent because of his recent performances. It's Nate. Like, Nate is not, like, you and I have talked about this a lot. Conor and Nate, like, that fight should never, like, Conor theoretically should never have been beaten by Nate. Like, on paper. On paper. Nate is a 2-1, he's a solid fighter. But why is Nate getting a title shot?
I think it's more to do with the fact that he beat Conor, which has made Nate in the casual fans' eye into more reputable than his record suggests. Don't get me wrong, Nate is a great fighter, beats some great guys.
Yes.
But anytime Nate's been at the top, he's lost. Yeah. He loses to the elite guys. His recent record, the guy hasn't fought in over 2 years.
Which was my point, is that, even if you give him the win over Conor as the currency for the title shot, what does that mean when it was 2 years ago?
Exactly. In fairness, Dana has come out and said this isn't happening. So
which means it is.
Yeah, it means it could swing either way. But as of right now, let's take it at face value. Okay. It's currently not booked. It'll be interesting to see if the UFC uses Nate to plug that gap, to essentially make it's not it nearly would be a phony title. It feels like if that was the case, it's literally just creating a third belt so that one of the guys who wins it
can fight Conor.
So Conor, how he comes out of the Habib fight, we don't know. But at least there's another title fight with history already lined up.
But that's exactly the point, is it kind of sets them up to, and this is what I'm concerned about, it's not, to me, all of these fights are about Conor. They're not actually about anyone else. And what I mean by that is, okay, fair enough, we could probably we could probably understand a Poirier title shot, because of his performances. There isn't really a justification for Nate other than, as you say, for the casual fans, which proves what I've been saying now for a while, and I keep harking on about this. The UFC isn't interested in the integrity of the sport. They're interested in nothing but financial gain.
No, but to play devil's advocate, Nate Diaz is the most recent man to beat the last sort of undisputed lightweight champion.
Yeah, but there is a current lightweight champion.
Oh no! Oh yeah! No, in my opinion, he disqualifies himself because of inactivity.
Yeah, the inactivity, and also
to the casual fans who still sort of hold Conor as the the uncrowned king at the minute.
Yeah, wait till October 6th.
Yeah, like Nate is his biggest rival. There's a trilogy fight there. This just, if it happens, stinks of the UFC cashing in on that.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
You brought up a point. Why is it all got, it all's going around Conor? From a business standpoint, that makes total sense.
Yeah, but and again, I'm just going to repeat what I said a second ago there, which is that's my issue with it. It isn't about It isn't about the integrity of the sport. It isn't about pure champion. It isn't about lineage. It is purely about money. Now, with that said, as you highlighted, there is story to both those fights. Will I watch Conor versus Poirier? Yes. Will I watch Conor versus Nate? Of course I will. I'm not saying I won't
Conor
watch.
Fight a heavy bag. Probably you would, and that is unfortunately part of the way that things have been going with the UFC at the minute, and I guess I'm just a bit frustrated and disappointed because there's many candidates for 165 division, and hey, if I'm UFC, I'm looking at what Bellator are going, perhaps a Grand Prix would be the way to launch a new division. Yeah, I mean, they've essentially tried that format, sort of changed a bit by doing it through the Ultimate Fighter. Just scrap that crap.
Yeah, scrap that crap and do a bracket.
Just have a bracket.
100%.
I don't know who'd be the front runners for a 165 division,
Well, I mean, I've seen people online saying that Woodley apparently could make 165. So,
but this is my other issue then. Like, is it really necessary if it's just going to turn out
champs fighting champs?
Yeah, just to have like super divisions.
Yeah, just tie up belts left, right, and center.
Well, yeah, because if you're fighting if Woodley drops down to fight for 65 title and say Conor goes up to fight for that, then that means
could you imagine Conor Woodley?
Yeah. Means the 55 title and the 70-pound title are both
tied up.
Yeah, on the shelf. So
it's an interesting question.
I would be for weight classes. I'd be more inclined to add in the bigger weight disparity. So between middleweight and light heavyweight and light heavyweight, and well, you'd maybe create a cruiserweight division within heavyweight. It's like a 215.
Yeah, so you'd have to imagine that one of the things that they would do is look at the possibility of putting welterweight up to 175, maybe.
I don't think you change the already established weight divisions. I think you add more around it. I just don't see particular need for this. Like there's 10 pounds between, or sorry, there's 15 pounds, which it is a considerable amount of weight. But is there enough guys? There probably is enough guys to fill it. But is there enough guys to fill it exclusively, which couldn't compete at the highest level in lightweight or at welterweight?
Well, that's a fair question, and I suppose the answer is we don't really know. But with that in mind, most quote unquote average sized people would fall into the lightweight to welterweight category, which means that they are statistically the most overwhelmed in terms of talent. So I suppose that if you are going to put a new division in, where they're putting it does make a bit of sense, but my question is why 165? Why not 162?
Well, 162.
Split the difference. Yeah, split the difference.
Sense, yeah, to split the difference because 5 pounds lighter than welterweight.
It's not really much of a.
Well, like I'm sure when you're the absolute limit of your weight cut, an extra 5 pounds would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
But for the smaller welterweights, that doesn't seem much, but it's a lot more weight.
For the bigger ones,
for a lightweight to put on or to not cut. So I don't know. I think the issue might be with the established weight divisions, in that, like, if you were really doing it properly now, would you just scrap them all and have, say, every 10 pounds a division?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the way it has to go. Ultimately, because I mean, we do a bit of training and whatever, and to give an example, like I currently weigh 215. I was 220, 225, something like that. I would have had to be in heavyweight, instead of light heavyweight, and that would be a 40 pound plus weight advantage, that someone would have over me. Now, obviously, it's different at that level, and there are people that are willing. We see quite commonly, we see heavyweights weighing into 230. I mean, Stipe was, 240 at his biggest, 230 to 235. There is merit to maybe being a bit lighter in that division, especially for cardio and movement. But I just can't help but feel like there shouldn't be it shouldn't be possible to step into a cage with someone to do what they're doing and put themselves at the risk they're putting it at with anything more. Like, it should be capped at maybe 15, nothing more than 15 at any weight class. Now to do that, you would have to rehaul everything, and you would in theory have to pepper new divisions throughout it. But there's maybe not a bad method in what the UFC are doing in terms of, right, where's the most demand? Well, the most demand currently is probably for a 165 division. So let's look at that first. And I understand that. So I'm not going to get in the UFC here and be like, why are they not fixing all of the weight classes right now? This is going to be an experiment for the UFC, and it'll be interesting to see what way it goes down. But I just can't see how not adding at least 2 or 3 more weight classes to remove the margin of the bigger weight differences isn't the way that they have to go.
Exactly, but I've said to you before, it makes promotional sense as well. We're in a time where they're making interim titles left, right, and centre, trying to make, just throwing gold on any old main event to try and, get the casual fans invested. Oh, it's for a title. Oh, it's for a championship. Having more weight classes gives you more title fights.
Yes, and more championship opportunities, absolutely.
Exactly, so it's a bit of a no-brainer to add more at the minute. As for this particular fight, I don't think this needs a belt. This just feels like, the next stage in the Conor sweepstakes.
That's exactly what it feels like to me. This to me has literally all been arranged because the person who wins is Conor. Because after he gets smashed by Khabib, which I do think will happen, where's he going to go? Well, he could go directly to fight Poirier, who he's beaten before. Granted at 145, and granted quite some time ago. But you'd still have to fancy Conor's chances in that. Thus, what have they done? They've re-crowned their throne, or re-throned their king, or re-crowned their king, or whatever. Yeah. And if Nate somehow manages to beat Poirier, which I don't think would happen, but it is possible, I think that then you have your Diaz and Conor 3, which is obviously, we're not telling anyone anything they won't have already figured out for themselves in that regard. But
from a promotional standpoint, it sets up the next few fights regardless. And like I said, then you have Woodley in the wings, you have GSP in the wings, you have Tony Ferguson in the wings. Tony
Ferguson must be furious. He would surely have been an ideal candidate for a 165 shot. Someone that's fought at welterweight, bigger, lightweight, and someone that not only has the chops but is in and amongst the title shot contention at the minute. And it opens a whole other world, because if you were to put Tony and Kevin Lee as the 165, you would have then Khabib maybe looking to go up to 165, and we might see the Tony Khabib fight. You might have Conor looking to go up to 165 to take the Tony fight or to take the Kevin Lee fight. I think that it just reeks of, as you've already highlighted, and I agree, it's just kind of a Conor sweepstake.
They're going to milk that cash cow till its nips are red, raw and dry.
Chafed, absolutely. If you like MMA related content, we have you covered here at Political Media, so please like, share and subscribe. We do our best to bring you 3 to 4 videos each week, as well as a weekly podcast which comes out on a Tuesday. You will of course find it at the link below. So that's it from us today. Peace.